Coming up on Look Today, well, tonight we present part one of my exclusive interview with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. And Around the Solo, a public forum on the Pitney Meadows Community Farm in Saratoga, took place over the weekend. I've got details. And the South High Marathon Dance in South Glens Falls breaks another record. More on that coming up. And Universal Preservation Hall is still raising money for the Capital Campaign Fund. We've got all these details, and it's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome everyone, I'm Jay Hood Jackson and this is Look Today. Well, in tonight's program, I sit down with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She represents the 21st District, and we talk about the recent town hall meeting that was supposed to take place in Glens Falls and the Affordable Care Act in part one of my interview with her. I also sit down with Mike Prezioso. He's a commissioner of the Saratoga County Department of Mental Health, and we're joined by Amanda Duff. She's a public health educator of Saratoga County Public Health, and they're here to shed light on a very important issue, the devastating effects of suicide and how to spot the symptoms in part two of my interview with them. Plus, we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties, but first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, Around the Silo, a community forum on the Pitney Meadows Community Farm took place yesterday at Universal Preservation Hall. A public forum invited everyone from the community to hear important information about future plans for the farm. Now, during the event, guests split into two different groups to engage in a discussion about how to run a public farm. Well, some of the major topics that were discussed included community gardens, trails, college programming, future of the farm fields, and much more. Well, we were at the event and we spoke to Barbara Glaser. She's the chairwoman of the Advisory Council for the Pitney Meadows Community Farm.
The fact that we had that conversion of the city's interest and the fact that it had been in the city's open space plan for so long, we finally had the private property owners ready to transfer the property, and we had a not-for-profit willing to abide by all these restrictions. That is a unique convergence, and why it has taken so long to make it happen, and why it's such a wonderful achievement. And I think the turnout today helps to show just the excitement that the community has that we finally have been able to get to this point.
Apologize for the lighting on that. We were restricted in the area that we could actually tape her. We also spoke to her about plans for the near future for the farm.
I'm really hoping that we will have community gardens up and running and trails. Those are two significant community benefits that are really important for us to put into place and show the community that their investment, the Bond Act money that they invested in this project, has really served the community well. It's protected the viewshed, it's preserved the farmland, we have community access for the community gardens, and the community will be able to ski and hike on these trails.
It's a great concept, it really is, and the public really turned out for it. It was a big crowd. All right, in other news, you ready? The South High Marathon Dance took place over the weekend in South Glens Falls, and the results are in. The fundraising dance raised an estimated record-breaking total of $823,000. Believe it or not, that's $100,000 more than last year, and the numbers, of course, keep climbing. Well, the dance has raised over $6.4 million since its inception in 1978. Well, we're going to have more on this when we speak to one of the organizers of the event, Tom Mayotte, today, and we'll have that for you tomorrow. Switching from news to weather. Well, today saw sunshine and a few clouds, and temperatures, well, it felt like a heat wave after the weekend, but they were in the low 30s. Let's see how the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, let's head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast.
Thank you, Jesse. Well, right now, as we jump into the first look forecast, we're going to continue to watch another advancing system our way. First of all, we have this warm front that's just breezing by across the western half of the state right now. High pressure still in control, giving us a general southerly flow. Eventually, a cold front does push on by over the coming days, but for the meantime, still watching temperatures struggling back up overnight with very little warming. About 35 Albany, 29 Burlington will be right there around or just below the freezing mark. That means some light rain will eventually fall as the form of some light snow, some sleet, or some freezing rain through the early morning hours. Before the meantime, some wintry mix is expected overnight, transitioning over to straight rainfall for the daytime tomorrow. For Tuesday, high 46 degrees, and as we get out the door tomorrow morning, could see some light freezing rains. That might be an issue on some of our cars. Give yourself a few minutes to de-ice, and just be aware there could be a slick spot or two. But for the most part, temperatures quickly rising above freezing. We'll see overcast skies and everything falling in the form of liquid rainfall, say once we get past the 10 a.m. hour. We'll see a chance of showers holding on through portions of Wednesday, high 53 degrees. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we'll see a cooling trend on the way. 39 Thursday, full sunshine, struggling to come back out Friday and Saturday, but morning lows will trend downward as well. 13 degrees on Saturday morning. We'll see plentiful sunshine, but also a cool day, high of 30 degrees. Well, that's it from the First Look Weather Center. Now let's get back to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Brad. All right, back to the news. Well, the Universal Preservation Hall in Saratoga is scheduled to close soon for renovations. Now, these upgrades, believe it or not, are going to take about a year and will turn the historical church into a world-class performance venue. Well, the Universal Preservation Hall campaign is trying to raise $5 million and is very close to completion. The church is expected to close beginning of June. Well, we spoke to Teddy Foster. She's a campaign director for the Universal Preservation Hall.
We're in the tail end of our capital campaign. We still do have money to raise, but now we have enough money to get started with the restoration, so it's really exciting.
Up next, I sit down with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Now, she represents the 21st District, and she's here to talk about the recent town hall meeting that was held in Glens Falls and the Affordable Care Act in part one of my interview with her. Plus, I also sit down with Mike Prezioso. He's a commissioner of Saratoga County Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. We're joined by Amanda Duff. She's a public health educator for Saratoga County Public Health. They're here to shed light on a very important issue, the devastating effects of suicide, and how we can spot the symptoms in part two of my interview with them. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Then give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. It's Monday, so we do look ahead. Quite an eventful week this week. Christine Duffy, president of SUNY Adirondack, will be in for an interview with Mike Lenz on Beyond the Headlines. It's March's Women's History Month, and to help celebrate that, we're doing a number of interviews over the month. The first one is Mary Liz Stewart, who's an historian. That'll be on this week. Queensbury Supervisor John Strow will be in for an interview. It's always good to see John. Part two of my exclusive interview with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. We'll have that for you tomorrow night. We're touching on invasive species and broadband in our region. Very important interview. And the Jefferson Project will also be in this week for an interview. And Commissioner of Finance for Saratoga, Michelle Madigan. Woo, quite a week. And by the way, please go to Facebook. We'll be posting a question every day on Facebook together with an interview or a story that we're covering here on Look Today. And the question for today relates to my interview with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. And don't forget, you tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.